Bingo. Okay, great. Welcome to Fire Dance. And this is an important show today. They're all important in some ways. But the biggest reason that this is important today is that I think I've made another bump in terms of understanding what it is that we're doing in the first place. And I have to apologize that you're actually guinea pigs to a degree. You're helping me test these ideas. They are beyond the point of hypothesis. It is theory, but you want to strengthen the theory. And I'm also learning more things. So, what I want to do is to welcome my good lady wife, my co conspirator, Tananarive Due, who is just doing spectacular things in her life right now. Turn on your sound, sweetheart.
I'm not quite fully together, but hello, everybody. Yeah, I will be.
Great. Yeah, and there's just so much great stuff that you've been up to. When you're ready to nominate, I would love to hear more from you, and the people who showed up here online would love to hear more from you. So, but get yourself ready. What? Oh, Jim Early, you're incredibly cute rodents. I mean, basically, what I've been talking about is the fact that I'm still in the process of trying to figure this out, and if there are, and this is so critical because Jason is really at a critical point where he is asking the question. He's asking different questions, and the biggest question he's asking now is, if I trust what you and Mom have been saying to me, Dad, am I going to get hurt? If I open myself, if I try, if I go for it, will I get hurt? And so what I have to do is to create the intervening steps so that he can fail without damaging himself, that he understands that he will fail and he's ready for that. So it's like for me, it was like 100 short stories. I was willing to write 100 short stories, and get rejected on every one, and to not let it injure me. That's right. He is hurt but not injured. That's exactly right, Ross. Hurt but not injured. Critical, critical, critical distinction. For Jason, who has for the first time indicated an actual career path that could lead him to supporting himself, that I believe he has the capacity to do, and for which we can actually provide some support. He wants to be an extra in television and film, which could lead not only to being an actor if he has the desire for that, but he is also studying technical things, video production, audio production. So he's actually thinking about before or behind, in front of or behind the camera. And that is a world that we can actually introduce him to. We know people making a living doing these things, so he can actually model it. So, but I have to ask, this leads me to consistently, well, before I go into that, would everybody please unmute yourselves and say hi to the community, hi to the family. Let's just kind of get our energy
Hi
up.
to the
Yeah.
community.
Nice to be here with you this week.
Nice to be here. Nice to be
Oh,
with you.
That's
oh,
that's right. There you go. That's
I am
what I'm
glad to
looking
be here
for.
today.
We're
Oh,
all
and
glad to have you here.
we are absolutely glad to have everybody here today. So, trying to think about the most basic pieces of this, because there are ways in which I only have one chance with this. And what I'm giving you is the same thing I'm giving him, which is the same thing I do for myself. So I don't know how to have any more integrity than that. I really don't. Because I'd die for my boy, just, without hesitation. If I knew that that would give him the life that he deserves, I've had a great time in life. And if that would do it, I would do it. Looking at the basic pieces, the magic formula, the breathing 5 times a day is like your white belt. That gets you your white belt. That gets you in the door of the school where you then have a chance to learn. Your yellow green belt is choosing 3 goals, one in body, one in emotion, one in mind, that would lift you to the next level. And we noted that for about 70% of people, almost everything they complain about is connected to money, connected to money. in terms of time, resources, feeling like they're in an emergency, having bad roommates, not having being able to fix their car, whatever it is, it is. So I think that it does us no good to pretend that that's not the case. And let's take money and put that in the belly brain until you have earned enough money that you have escaped pain. Let's consider that part of hunting and gathering and evading predators and that basic survival stuff. Let's get our basic survival stuff handled. Then we can ask, wow, what can we do to make money that would be fun? How can I have fun doing it? Kind of belly brain is sort of like, get into it or get out of it. That if this is what you have to do, find a way to do it with joy and gratitude. That gives you faith. That allows you to keep moving forward. And at some point, you'll be able to say, okay, I've got survival handled. What's next? And what's next is joy, being able to do something that you enjoy doing and making money at it. And the point beyond that, and I say this observing that Tananarive is a better master of this than I am. To get to the point where the more service you give to the community, to be able to measure the efficiency of your efforts at making a living, money becomes a way of measuring how much service you're giving. The people who look at it that way and mean it, who've actually done their preliminary work so that they're actually grounded, can actually look at it that way. The more people I serve with my writing, the more money I get. The more people I serve with my teaching, the more money I get. Now, there are definitely positions in life where that simply is not true. You can serve people and not make a dime. You can give yourself away. And there are other places where you can make money, but you're not serving anybody. But if you start with survival and you go from there to joy and you go from there to service, that's the right syntax for this. So what Jason did, he did something different a couple of days ago. If you take a look at that chart for Think and Grow Rich up there, you'll note, what we said is that you start with number one. Do you have the desire? Okay. If you've got the desire, then do you have faith that you can and should do it? Okay. So do you have desire and faith? Until you have a burning desire and faith that you can make it happen, just work there. Don't worry about the other stuff. That's like, I'm just talking to a guy who is having problems finding women who are attracted to him. He has kind of a basic, a minimum wage job, and he's interested in women who could frankly be dating lawyers. I mean, every sensible human being is going to trade what they've got for the most that they can get in life in with a partner. He wants to cheat. He wants to try to get these women who could date lawyers to date him, even though he's making a minimum wage. It's not going to work. And what will happen is he'll be able to make a connection with somebody who looks great, but is a mess internally. Because if she were integrated internally and externally, the lawyer is a weight. Somebody who has that kind of capacity to create a nest, because that's all that money is in that sense. It's hunting and gathering, building a nest, being able to protect your eggs. I mean, it's not complicated. You can't cheat this stuff, not if you're trying to get to the point of mastery in life. So if success is the progressive realization of a worthy goal, not a bad definition. And we said, okay, we want goals in all three major arenas because we don't want to leave anything behind. Then is it possible to create a single goal that works in all areas? And in thinking about this, I thought about what I do every day, the meditation, the morning ritual during Tai Chi, fire dance, www.firedancetaichi.com. Fire dance, just setting myself up for the day. And then my done by one, making sure that I have all the most important things done by 1 o'clock, or through by 2, or free by 3, or out the door by 4, or whatever it is that you do. So it's like this is where the most important things are, and then after that you have the more optional things. And then I thought about what I do with Tananarive every day, the blessing dance, which is putting ourselves in alignment. That's step 9 of Think and Grow Rich. Hi, Tananarive just turned her camera on, so I'm going to shut up for a minute and just
Oh
and let you dive into this in any way that you want to. There's so much going on.
Well, I just want to say hello to everybody. And yes, we love the blessing dance. It was a really important addition to our connection some years ago when we were actually having some stresses. I don't remember what they all were, but I can imagine. Um, Co-parenting and differences of opinion and collaborating, you really do have to work to be in synchronicity about those things. And learning the blessing dance was really one of the first steps toward creating deeper and stronger synchronicity between us. I saw a difference right away, and I'm very grateful for the practice as well as the Love Feast, which you all have heard Steve talk about, which has been, I think, the crowning piece of helping us stay in sync with each other. Thank you very much for the congrats in the chat. I am a happy camper after winning a Stoker Award for the Reformatory. And yeah, I'm going to leave it at that because I just sent a whole long newsletter about the background to that, and we have a whole podcast episode about the background to that. So I'm not going to go into it too deeply here, but I do want to just reiterate that the practices that we teach in our life writing podcast, that we talk about here when we're talking to writers, the principle of a sentence a day, talking down the voices in your head. I had to run the gamut with that book. And right now, we are operating at just such a peak level of collaboration and also individually. And Steve will talk about the magic formula probably as part of making that happen. But I'm just here to testify. I'm a believer, and we're seeing opportunities emerge sometimes just because we proclaim it in writing somewhere. In my case, it's social media. You don't have to proclaim on social media. It's very public. But I do believe that the act of writing one's goals is sort of an act of magic. And it's not about whether you accomplish the goal that year or even at all. I think sometimes it's just having the strength and conviction to and faith to write a goal down that starts to create a change in our mindsets that can lead to those kinds of daily rituals that Steve is talking about, because people need a why, and you can do it just as like a bare act of faith. Okay, if I do this, my life will get better. But it's also nice to have a specific goal, obviously, that you're working toward. And writing that goal down is a way of making it real, even if it's just to you. But of course, when we find out is that when we put our goals down in social media, people respond and, in a practical sense, give us advice or offers that literally can help the goal happen. Like when we made our first short film, we just proclaimed it on Facebook, and the next thing we knew, a potential cast member's mom had chimed in. It's like, oh, can you send us a script? It's like, oh, shoot, I guess we have to write a script now. So like a big accountability partner. But in any case, there's just so much going on. I'm really grateful for Steve and these teachings, and I'm really grateful that we get to pass them on to you. And I'll leave it to you there, sir, to do as
It's okay.
thou wilt.
Well, one of the things I wanted to say is that your mom, and I've said this many times, that Tananarive was the best prepared human being for the career in front of her that I've ever met and had a chance to interact with. And so she can credit her mom with that. In other words, a tremendous number of these teachings are about what people like Tananarive have at unconscious competence because they were raised in a family or in a social situation where they had a chance to learn these things. So what we're doing is we're deconstructing the behaviors, the thought patterns and emotions of highly successful people, especially when you look at the fact that her parents knew that she and her sisters would run into great amounts of social obstacle. So these patterns are things that were designed to get people around the social barriers. They're not for people with privilege. They're for people who want to create privilege for their children and their grandchildren, who want to stop the generational issue. And so we're looking at this stuff. Be aware and cautious of people who try to say, well, that's survivor bias. This stuff doesn't work, so forth. Because what I will say to people like that is perform the experiment. Perform what I'm doing for 3 months. Did follow my advice for 3 months. If it doesn't work, I'll give you $100. I have done that with people. And in one case, I had to pay out the $100. So I'm not bluffing. I really believe in this, and I believe that the more I think I'm at the point, and we're both at the point where the more service we give, the more rewards we have, and that's a wonderful thing. But it requires integration. I mean, books like The Secret kind of say if you want something and speak it to the universe, it comes to you. Yes, assuming you've done a fantastic amount of previous work. That you get to a level of integration where you speak something and it automatically changes your behavior, and your behaviors are actually connected to the world. If I say, I want to write a book, I have all the behaviors and the knowledge and the emotions to actually write a book. The book doesn't appear by itself. I've done the work to be able to do that. So it's more like you're driving a car and you say, I want to go over there, and you turn the wheel and it just, oh, by magic, you got there. No, you did certain things. It created a vehicle in your life. And the vast majority of what you have forgotten about. You've forgotten how much you know. So back to that question, if there was a single goal, a single thing that would be, that you could put all of your attention behind, that would give you the most in your life, I think it's that question of what's the perfect day? Can you design a day such that you believe you could do it, and that if you did do it for 1,000 days, for 3 years, you would accomplish your goals or make major steps toward it? And I take a look at that. Like I said, in 1,000 days or 3 years, you could lose 100 pounds, you could heal your heart and find love, you could change jobs or create a business. People have done this. It requires certain kinds of thought. And there are certain things in life where you need to have partnership. You need to have help from other people. So you need to focus on the things that do not need help from other people directly. What are the things that can be your responsibility? So in looking at the pattern of Think and Grow Rich, because that's that thing about 70% of people is going to be about money. But the actual Think and Grow Rich, if you take a step back, wealth is whatever it is you say it is. It doesn't have to be money. This applies to health. It applies to love too. Take a look at those steps. And I would say you master every one of those steps that does not require outside help. So you have you can't blame the world anymore. What you want is to take all the responsibility on your own shoulders. So let's take a look at that. The first step is desire. You have to be able to admit that you want something, and it has to be a burning passion. If you want to know how, there's a story about a Zen monk who was asked by a younger monk, when will I achieve enlightenment? And the older monk says, you really want it? And the young monk says, yes, I do. And the old monk says, come with me. And he takes the kid down to the river, and he grabs the back of the kid's neck and sticks his head in the water, and then pulls his head up, and the guy goes, "Ah!" And then sticks his head back in the water, and then back in his water again, and then takes the kid and throws him on the riverbank, and the kid is going, and the old monk says, when your head was in the water, what were you thinking? And the kid said, I'd do anything in the world for one more breath of air. And the old monk says, when you want enlightenment that much, you will have it. If you want to know how badly you have to want something, and if, like most of us, you have been disappointed and had people crap on your dreams enough that you no longer have that burning sense of, earth below, heaven above, no one in the world like me that you had as a little kid? All you have to do is hold your breath until the carbon dioxide backs up and your hindbrain goes ding, 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 and your limbic system says, need air, need air, need air. That's how badly you have to want it. Right there. You then get to take a look at your life and say, do I want to be a writer as much as I want to breathe? Do I want love as much as I want to breathe? Do I want to help my children to the next level in their lives as much as I want to breathe? Do I want to create a business that supports me and is a benefit to the world as much as I want to breathe? You get to compare it to that, and you also get to take a look at the people who have created. And maybe wanting to breathe is a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10. And what you find is that people who are highly successful, no, it's not all the way to a 10, but it's an 8. And you've been operating at a 2. That tells you the direction you need to go in. If you can create a day where you can see that if you had 1,000 of those days in a row, you're exercising, you're meditating, you're reaching out to the people that you love, you're working on your projects, you're marketing, you're doing this, you're having fun, you're playing with your dog, you're hugging your kids, and you're going to bed at night feeling like you've done what needed to be done. And you know that if that day, that single day, you got it right. You got it right. Now, I said that Jason did something really interesting. One of the things that we do, because I have my ritual, and then there is the ritual that I do with Tananarive, which goes from the blessing dance to the love feast, which is basically just for this period of time for 90 days, you put your partner above you. Your partner's happiness is more important than your own. And then we have a business meeting every day, 5 days a week. We take a look at what's happening today. What do we need to do in the next 2 weeks? Are we doing okay? What's up? And then we have a meeting with Jason every day, and this has been critically important. And we actually began this some years back, just basically when he was going to grade school. Where every morning we would have a little meeting, and every day after he got home from school, we'd have a little debrief. And he would be very, very resistant to this, but we did it. And actually, it was grounded in something even more basic than that, where I would sit and breathe with him. To do like 20 breaths with him, sitting cross-legged, crisscross applesauce, holding hands and looking into each other's eyes. And
Since he was
had a
about
heart.
5, right? You were
That's
doing
right. Since
that?
he was about 5, we started doing that in Atlanta, and that was the beginning of that process. But one of the things we do is that I have him do what's called changes in order to learn how to control his emotions. That emotions are created by how you use your body, what you focus on, and the language that you use. So a neurolinguistic programming swish pattern combined with that idea says that, okay, have him 3 times after meeting say something that involves shifting from the unresourceful state to the resourceful state, so that he can kind of get used to the fact that he can do this. He has some power here, put his hands on those controls. So we used Brendan Burchard's High Performance 6 for this. You have to have clarity, energy, sense of urgency, productivity, influence, and courage. So he would say, all the courage I need is within me now. All the clarity I need is within me now. All the energy I need is within me now. Doing a big V for victory with his hands. Actually have him take on the body language of the positive state. So he's practicing shifting that, right? This, obviously, for those of you who pay attention, connects to our morning ritual, where you are doing the full magic formula, which takes from 10 to 20 minutes while you are doing physical movement. So for 10 to 20 minutes, you are, visualizing your mentors, and you're flooding yourself with the emotional states that you need to accomplish, and you're filling yourself with gratitude, et cetera, at the same time that you're moving physically and saying it aloud. That's an important thing. Do it physically. Get out of your damn head. Do it physically. Well, almost exactly a week ago, I got a new toy. I love getting exercise toys. It's just part of how I have amused myself all this time because anybody who knows me knows that I have notebooks, dozens and dozens of notebooks filled with the ultimate physical training program. Yes, I've almost got it this time. I've almost got the perfect program this time. It's a game that I play with myself to keep engaged. You see that it's an intellectual game. I'm always learning something. It's an emotional game. Oh, this is the mastery secret that I've almost got. This is how I have done this. Okay. But one of the things that I've never been able to do successfully is progressive resistance exercise. 3 sets of 12 repetitions, raising the weight because my body will store up too much tension. I've never been able to get over that. But there was a really interesting toy that had to do with isometrics. Isometrics are second for second, minute for minute, more efficient than weight training. However, there are some caveats connected to that. But there are a lot of pluses, including safety for your joints and lots of things like that. But the problem is measurement. So you push your hands together like this. How do you know whether or not you're pushing hard enough? Somebody who's a world-class weightlifter understands exactly what a maximal contraction is. You don't. So you need the feedback of seeing the weights and getting the numbers. So a company called Dragon Door, the same people that introduced kettlebells to the United States, created something called an isochain, which is a piece of equipment that actually measures the amount of force you're putting into it. And so you get that feedback. And it's very clever. It's very well done. And I had one. There were some issues, some problems with it, and I didn't know how to release the tension from my body. But with the integration of the 5 Minute Miracle and starting to do some yoga and 5 Tibetans, by adding the 5 Tibetans to the 5 Minute Miracle, doing like 7 Tibetans each time, that in 3 sets, I had my 21 reps, right? And then I thought to myself, but I've got 5 reps during the day. I've got 5 sets during the day because it's a 5 Minute Miracle. So I thought, well, what if I alternate the 5 Tibetans with some really simple yoga poses, because the human body does a finite number of things. It can lean forward and backwards. It can lean side to side. It can twist, right and left. It can take a step forward. You can take a step back. Those 6 degrees, those 6 aspects of movement are most of what the body can do. And most things that you do are just combinations of that. So I thought that the tension that is being stored in my body has to impact that stuff. Or where is it storing? If it's in my body, it's going to interfere with my ability to lean forward, back, side to side, twist, or take a step forward and back. So I thought boy, it's a lot today. It is arguable the world's greatest yogi was a guy named Krishnamacharya, because Krishnamacharya had 3 students, BKS Iyengar, V. Deskachar, and Kapatabi Joyce, who created Iyengar Yoga, Vinaya Yoga, and Ashtanga Yoga. It's arguable that the guy who was their teacher was the man. He lived to be over 100 years old. He had 3 major teachers. Probably half of the yoga on the planet comes from one of those guys. One of his students, so he created Ashtanga Yoga, and it's arguable that Ashtanga Yoga is his take on what the body needs to perform properly. And it's an hour and a half practice. One of his students, or one of Kapatabi Joyce's students, because Joyce was doing the Ashtanga stuff, named Richard Freeman, created a simplified form of Ashtanga that only takes 15 minutes. And taking a look at that, I think that I could make an argument that the poses inside that 15-minute form were Krishnamacharya's idea of what is the most critical stuff. And if you combine that with what Scott Sonnen said about the 6 degrees of freedom, and what the Russians say about, that side to side, lean back and forward, twist, so forth, that if I extract from that 15-minute form the movements that are doing that, that I have the cream of the cream of the cream. And yes, I do complete yoga forms or more complete yoga forms. But if I can extract the basics and integrate those into the five Tibetans, as I can add to the five Tibetans, I don't want to subtract from them. If I do that right and say it's 5 to 7 Tibetans plus these other movements, then I've got that synaptic facilitation thing working for me. I'm treating learning this as a skill. So I said, let me take another look at the Isomax, the Isochain. And they've evolved it to something called an Isomax, which is even better in some ways. So I got one last Sunday and we've been playing with it. And Jason put up ridiculous numbers. I mean, the boy can lift over 400 pounds in a deadlift. I mean, now it's only a short range of motion. It's like lifting a barbell off of a rack with a pin on each side. So when you do a full range movement, you also have to move through your weak ranges of motion, which is why your weight in certain ranges, you can lift more than you can overall. But because of some principles like muscle irradiation, there's a lot of crossover, and let's stay out of that. But he really likes that. His highest lift before was, I think, 425, and he got up to 437 this time. So 2 days ago, we're doing our afternoon meeting with Jason, and it came time for him to do his changes. And instead of doing his V for victory, he said, I want to use the Isomax. And so I said, okay, that's the first time he's ever volunteered something like that. He got there and he set it up for a deadlift. And he's like deadlifting over 300 pounds while he's saying, all the energy I need is within me now. All the clarity I need is within me now. All the productivity I need is within me now. And I was sitting back saying, God damn. That was the first time I had seen him totally invested. Totally invested. Not only that, but creative. He was doing something his dad hadn't even thought of. That was a step. That's a real step in his creating a daily ritual, which if he did that, if he could do 10 minutes of that kind of movement while he is chanting the affirmations that he needs and so forth for 10 to 20 minutes a day, don't tell me that in 1,000 days he wouldn't have completely transformed his life. You can't even begin to tell me some crap like that. So let's take a look at what those movements are, what those principles are. Can we have desire without outside help? Yes, we can. Can we develop faith in our ability to create our desires without outside help? Yes, we can. Is it easier without outside help? Yes, it is. But we can. Autosuggestion was just doing changes. It's just aligning your internal beliefs with the actions that you need to get the thing that you want. You have to feel, can I do this? Should I do this? Would it move me away from pain toward pleasure? Be a benefit to my community? If the answer to all those things is yes, then you should have a simple internal structure. You're a potato. That's what I call it. You're not fighting yourself. And what you're looking for is the ways in which you're not fighting yourself. So the fourth thing then is specialized knowledge. If you have the desire and you have the faith and you're aligned internally and externally, are you doing your research? And in the magic formula, of course, that's the M, mapping and modeling. You're studying other people who have done this. What does it take to accomplish this thing that I want to do? You should study the thing that you want to do until you could teach a community college class in it. You want to master the basics of what it is that you want until you become an expert. You want to be a writer? Be able to teach a class. You want to be a martial artist? Be able to teach a class. You want to have a healthy relationship? Be able to teach a class, to teach students in what you have found such that your students are starting to get the positive result. You generate ideas. Now, It is easier to generate ideas if you're bouncing them off somebody else. That is very true. But creativity is about thinning the wall between your conscious and unconscious minds. Everybody goes quietly insane every night. I mean, everybody dreams every night. So in a lot of ways, that's all imagination is allowing the ideas, the things, experiences you've had during the day to bang up against each other and create new perspectives. Once you've generated enough ideas, you then create organized plans. So you say, okay, I'm going to perform an experiment. I believe that the world is like this. I believe if I write a story like this and send it to this magazine, they will say yes. You try the experiment, you get a positive or a negative result, you make adjustments, you send it someplace else, you write a slightly different story, whatever. But the more often you're experimenting, the more data you get. You pay attention to the data. You adjust your theories about what your hypothesis about what's working. You formulate an experiment to test your hypothesis. And what your experiment is, what did you do today? Did it work? Didn't it work? If the experiment is how do I get myself to perform? How do I get myself to write 1,000 words? Then you say, well, maybe if I play this music and I sit in this desk and I start at this time and I eat this food, that I'll be, biochemically set up to do it, and I'll be able to get those 1,000 words done. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But if you're paying attention, you start coming up with the answers. Because remember, your point is to design a day where if you could do 1,000 of those in a row, you can get to where you're going. In most cases, with a lot of goals for a lot of people, 100 days in a row is plenty. Then you commit. You have to say, I'm going to do it. And you have to be prepared to do it often enough, to repeat your experiment often enough to actually get enough data. So for instance, for you writers out there, we said, how many stories? 100 stories. You're going to go through this pattern 100 times. You're going to write stories the way we tell you to, send them out the way we tell you to, and then you're going to collate the data. And you're not going to even begin to doubt yourself. You're not going to give yourself any room for doubt for your first time until you've done 100 stories. And not a single one of our students has gotten past story 26 before they started selling. Because when you give yourself that much room, you stop being afraid. When you're not afraid, you're not filtering as much. You can actually take a look at the results that you're getting. You don't take it personal. It's just results. It's just an experiment. And you make your adjustments and you learn. Same thing that you did when you were learning how to walk. You observe mom and dad and brothers and sisters walking. You try to get up, you take a step, you fall down. You look around, is that okay? And if your parents are healthy and your family's healthy, they say, good baby, good baby. And you think, oh, okay, good. Let me try it again. You get up, you try it again, fall down. You get up, you try it again, fall down. Get up, try it again, fall down. Get up, fall, try it again, and take a step. I've taken a step. And everybody says, yay, good baby. What a good baby. So you're the best baby ever. Look at this genius kid we've got. That kid took a step. That one, and wouldn't it be great if we could do that for ourselves? Wouldn't it be great to find friends who cheer you on when you have your little victories so that you know to head in that direction? If you do all those steps, then you have the first step in your mastermind, which is to be internally and externally aligned. At the very least, you are on your side. But if you've taken those other steps, you're starting to develop power, as well as beauty and creativity. And you will find it vastly easier to find both business partners, friends, and lovers, and potentially a partner. And what is a mastermind? A mastermind is two people working in a spirit of total cooperation, heading towards a chosen goal. So if you take a look at everything we've said about the morning ritual, about the blessing dance, about the love feast, you're seeing how Tananarive and I have set ourselves up for magic in our lives. But each of us had to do all the work to get here, that we had to do every bit of the work that can be done without outside help. Yes, there is bigotry. Yes, there are obstacles. Yes, you don't have all the skills that you need, but you have to do everything you can do where you are before you begin to complain about the fact that the world will not help you. By taking a look, the magic formula, all 5 steps can be done without outside help. The high performance 6 has nothing to do with whether or not other people will help you, although when you get good at it, you'll start noticing that people are attracted to you and want to help you. And the first 8 steps, maybe 9, of the Think and Grow Rich do not demand any outside cooperation. You can do this yourself. And in doing it, you move yourself into the position. Trust me, once you've got that energy and you're going someplace and you're feeling alive, you are sexy, you are fun. Everybody's going to want to know what direction your parade is heading in, and they want to get in line. Let's focus on what the perfect day would be. Let's focus on what the perfect hour is. If you can get 1 hour in your day right, if you can get 1 day right, you're not feeling guilt and shame about the past. You're not feeling fear about the future. You're focusing all your attention on, can I get this 1 day right? Just 1 day. Let me wake up. Let me connect with myself. Let me look at the day ahead and see, what do I need to accomplish? Who can I serve? How am I moving away from pain? How am I finding joy? Let me get out of bed and move my body and just kind of celebrate the fact. Every day I give thanks for a strong, healthy body. It's not always going to be strong and healthy. I know that. I know that very, very well. Every athlete does. Athletes can feel what's happening in their bodies. They don't kid themselves about that. I don't kid myself that I'm not what I was, I'm what I was 40 years ago. Are you kidding me? But I know myself better. And I put 100% of my ego behind using a greater and greater percentage of what I've got left. That's it. It's not on how much I've got. It's, okay, I want to use, if this is what I've got, in the past, I had this much and I could use 20% of it. Now I've got this much, I'm going to use 95% of it. And if all of my ego is on using the most of what I've got, the highest percentage of what I've got, then right up to the last breath of my life, I can still be improving. And if success is the progressive realization of a worthy goal, that means I can literally set myself up to succeed every day, every hour, every moment of my life, having fun, being who it is that I am, being of service, and by the way, making money. So that's a lot today, actually. But what I wanted to do now is go to having people. Let's take this from the theoretical into the practical. There are people who are experimenting with these things, who are working on projects, who are having successes or running into obstacles. Please bring them right here. Let's workshop whatever is going on in your life right now. So, who's going to be first? Volunteer, or you will be voluntold. Raise your hand. Oh, did somebody raise their hand? Nick? Nick
Yep,
raised his hand.
he did. I
Hello,
figured
Nick.
you put out an invitation, jump in first, because that's
Absolutely.
right on. So since the last session Saturday, I have combined going through the Chen Man Cheng form of Tai Chi. I haven't practiced it regularly in a long time, but I find it's coming back. The sequence comes back. And I'm finding as I focus on the the kind of mantra, I am selling stories, scripts, and songs, so forth, and abundant, all sufficient affluence, and a loving wife, and perfect health, and so forth. That my ability to concentrate and get grounded in the form, so that I'm staying balanced on one foot without teetering on the brink, and the form follows through. It's like the recitation is establishing a detachment inside there that I wasn't able to achieve with regularity, if that makes sense.
So you're saying that doing the chanting while you're doing it is actually improving your form?
Yeah, it's improving my
Now
ability
that's
to.
interesting.
Mhm.
See, I would say I know that it improves the usefulness of the form because life is being able to stay balanced in the midst of chaos.
Mhm.
But if you are actually finding that it is improving the form itself, that's really interesting. And I love that. Keep track of that because that kind of suggests that that when you keep one part of your mind busy, it allows another part of your mind to perform at a higher level.
It
So you're
does. I
keeping
see
your
that.
mind busy by saying certain things and changing your focus because the part of you that performs martial arts or any physical movement is the unconscious competence.
Yeah.
So that would suggest to me that you've had a very busy brain, that
Oh.
you
Mhm.
second guess yourself, you criticize yourself, and by suspending that, you're letting your actual genius come out. And
So
this could
good.
be a really positive thing. And I had not considered that. This is the first time somebody has said that. I want you to track that for me. Okay?
I will be happy to be happy to report back. The
Yeah, I
other thing
love
I
that.
find is as I shift away, say, to the writing itself, I've been able to do some very interesting sort of exploratory work, like having the principal characters dialoguing about the story and sort of detaching my own inclinations from the characters' inclinations. They're starting to show up as a little different than I thought they were. Okay.
It's absolutely okay. The
Okay.
all that matters is the experiment. I'm a scientist and I expect you guys to be discerning consumers, to not
Mhm.
trust me more than that first couple of weeks of breathing. But after that, kind of to see. So what you've done, Nick, is you've opened a different door. There's a new line of inquiry about, well, why might this work in this way? Chin Man Ching is actually one of the people I give thanks for every day.
Oh,
BKS
yeah.
Iyengar and Chin Man Ching, because Chin Man Ching is the greatest Tai Chi practitioner that I know of and can see movement on, and
Yeah.
who someone I trust reported back that this guy was completely for real.
Yeah.
Okay. Robert W. Smith, who was the first Westerner to really go deeply in the Chinese martial arts and report back about it, said that Chen Manching was the man. So I I think that you should continue this, that you may have found a pathway into something that will be very powerful for you. And I would love it. Journal this stuff, man, and report back, would you please?
Yeah. Yeah. And now, as we're talking, what I'm thinking about is can I bring that same practice to my writing? Because as I sit down with the pen and paper or the computer and I start thinking, I've been wrestling with how do I start this? I've had several opening scenes, of course, right, for a story, many of them. I've written the whole script, now revising, but I keep getting tangled up in how do I make a choice between these various opening scenes? They're all strong, they're all attention grabbing, full of moral and thematic strength, but I don't know which one to go with. So maybe if I just do a physical practice, maybe try dictating, I don't know. So,
Well, here's what I would think about it. You can't care about the individual story too much. The
okay.
individual story is today's work, or this week's work, or this month's work, but
Mhm.
it is not determinative of your quality in your career any more than any one practice of the form on one day is your entire career of practice. If you think I've got to get these movements perfectly, you'll miss the flow. The part of you that's trying to control it is not the part of you that does it.
Yeah.
So ultimately, the part of you that tries to control it can do research, it can set up deadlines, but what you're doing is you're letting another part of you, a sacred, deeper part of you, actually come out and play. So what you're looking for is glimpses of the true self, which you will feel when you get into the flow of writing and you look back on it later and say, oh, this is actually pretty good. When you're in the flow and you're just kind of doing it, and you look back later and that was good, that was your true self coming out. And you'll never directly look at your true self. You'll just kind of sense when it's happening, because the
Yeah.
ordinary mind is getting out of the way. So if you say, I'm going to finish a story a month, you do your best, and then you move on and you keep doing your research, and you say to yourself, I want to get better at choosing the perfect beginning. So you're reading work that is beyond the level that you aspire to. You read the classics. How did this master,
Yeah.
what did this master do? Why did he choose that? What would have happened if we started at another place? And you look at that and you assume that this master is above you, and you allow yourself to drop your ego and say, teach me, Sifu. So you look at Shakespeare, or you look at
George Bernard Shaw is a favorite of mine
that's
too.
right.
That guy's
That's right. And you say,
immense.
okay, Shaw started here. If I'm going to look at Pygmalion, or
Hmm.
then why did he start here? Why didn't he start, in childhood? Why didn't he start, what was the point of this? And you try to understand their thoughts. And part of what you could do, if you love George Bernard Shaw, then you study him. You study his life, you study his work, you study his essays, you study articles about him, and you bring him into your fantasy world. When you're doing your Tai Chi and you're doing your visualizations, give gratitude for your mentors. And one of them is George Bernard Shaw. I say, I
Absolutely.
give thanks for my mentors. I give thanks for George Bernard Shaw. And you visualize him. And
Uh,
then you research him. And then before you go to bed at night, you say, I've got a story problem. George, will you talk to me while I'm dreaming tonight?
uh,
Give me an answer.
uh,
And what you will find is you will hit a point where if you turn your story problems over to a mentor before you go to sleep, you'll wake up in the morning with an answer. It may not be a great answer, but the more you
uh,
research him, the better it gets. It's
mhm.
this stuff is so great. I mean, it's all that children do, and they put on their parents' clothes and pretend
Oh yeah.
to pretend to recapture that being a walking stem cell. Children are nothing but potential. As adults, we start thinking it it's not it's too late. I'm stuck being who I am. We are
Uh,
wrong. We can always change.
uh,
There's always more neuroplasticity left as long as we've got breath in our bodies. So you found that you actually improve your Tai Chi when you focus your mind.
yeah.
I would take that information and say, okay, let me give my mind something to kind of focus on. I would play, for instance, some soft jazz in the background.
Okay.
Something without dialogue, without lyrics. But I might experiment. Say, do I write better when there's music with lyrics? Music without lyrics? Whatever it is, I would assume that I am learning how my brain goes into flow state,
Okay.
how my brain focuses properly. And so you get to have the same fun that I have with my endless manipulations of my physical training program,
Yeah.
because I also do the same thing with my mental training program. So you are kind of taking a look at, how can I produce the best writing of my life and have fun in the process? Be sure to add that, because otherwise you'll go into suffering. You remember that you want to have fun doing this.
Say that
It should
again.
be
How can I
entertaining.
evolve? How can I evolve the best writing of my life and have fun? Right? Is that basically? Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And as you study George Bernard Shaw,
Yeah.
get his avatar in your mind
Yeah.
to tell you about his best and most satisfying writing sessions. And eventually, if you do enough research, he will start talking to you,
Oh,
and it will
I
sound
already have a
just like
sense
him.
of that. I mean, I've been an actor for a long time,
Yeah.
and we got to do something called Village Wooing. I don't know if you know that play, but there's a peroration toward the end where the male character speaks about the promise of marriage. It's somewhat like what you and Tanana Reeve have found together in the blessing dance and the
Yes.
feast. And it's the most exquisite expression. Oh, I want to say one last thing and stop. And I did want to acknowledge this. Years and years ago, when I first ran across you on the web, and I signed up for your program, and I got as far as you're recommending doing the five Tibetans, and that we do them only 3 at a time, and then for a period, so we could keep you advised of where we were in our process. So this business about a structured physical process has been a foundational piece in your teaching, and it's been very helpful to me. I wanted to acknowledge that, even though years have gone by between that time at the beginning and now.
I am delighted. It's a blessing to serve. It truly is. I did not create the Tibetans. I came across them in a book in a bookstore in Portland. And I
Oh,
thought, this looks interesting. Let me check it out.
yeah.
The only problem with the Tibetans is that there's only one source of information about them. There's literally nothing other than the Eye of Revelation by Peter Kelder.
Oh,
And clearly, to the degree that the Tibetans are real and were part of an older tradition, it's obvious the monks gave him stuff that a child could do and let him carry that away because it would, whatever the progressions are, we don't know. So they work, and when you get up to doing 21 repetitions and your body feels good, I'd suggest starting a little bit of experimentation,
yeah.
but always keep going with what feels right and be sure that you can do the 21 repetitions. If you can do the 21 repetitions of each of them, you don't need to, but you need to test to be sure that you can still do them. Then you've got all the strength and the play and whatnot. So I'm glad, because if you anchor into the physical,
Mhm.
that's our best path through life. Be very cautious of trying to think your way through all this stuff. I'm smart enough to not be terribly impressed by intelligence anymore.
Yeah, it's a problem as much as a blessing.
That's right. Okay, thanks a lot, Nick.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Uh,
Okay, so who's next? Who's Nalina?
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing great, and I'm delighted to see you back.
Indeed. Well, of course, I had great news to share because being on the platform last week, I shared a little bit about my current work in progress because you put me on the spot. So, and I wasn't prepared. I didn't even have my makeup on, I had a light on or anything like that. So I shared about the Deuces Wild, the twins, and the twin that's trying to find the people who have her sister's organs that were transplanted illegally.
That's right.
Well, by being on this call, there was someone, and his name is Alex. He knew someone who was a surgical transplant nurse or professional, and he connected me with that woman, and she's been reading the book, and she's been helping me in the sense that started writing this 3 years ago, and the laws have changed and the dynamics have changed whereas the illegal illicit organ capital of the world once was Israel and India, now it's China and Iran. So some of my stuff was outdated, and some of the techniques that I researched didn't quite fit in the book, and she's helping to sort all of that out, and it's been an amazing thing. And if I hadn't been on the call last week and you hadn't called on me, I would not have been able to connect with the guy who connected me with the woman who is tightening up the book for the elements and the logistics of transplantation that I needed to really make it close, I would say 95% on the money. There may be a little bit of flub in one place where it's fiction, but I'm trying to keep it as close to the vest. And she also gave me one book to read as well.
Fantastic. That's how magic works, darling. You did
Indeed.
your work. You did all your work. And at that point, a little bit of networking. It's like when you handle your business, gravity is not like magnetism. It doesn't pull things in. Gravity is a bending of space-time. Literally the mass of an object bends the fabric of space-time. When you do your work, it's like you bend space-time and you start finding people more attracted to you. You find help coming to you. You find things happening spontaneously. So use that as evidence that you're doing the right thing and you're heading in the right direction. And God bless you. I'm so happy for you. That's wonderful.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I got on the call with him as well to help him with some of the questions that he asked on the experience last week. So it was amazing to share, and then I received something that I desperately needed and didn't even really know that I needed, because I thought I had everything all together. But things change over a 3-year period. Laws have been passed and things are outdated. So
Takes a
amazing.
village, sweetheart.
Yes.
None of us make it alone. None of us make it alone. And I'm just delighted. You do so much for so many people. You've got a whole tribe of people that you help. If you feel that what we're doing here would be of use to your tribe, be sure to let them know. Otherwise, just go out
They've
and,
been
and,
here.
and
They were here last week. A couple of them were here last week, and then they watched
fantastic.
too. So I'm
Good.
glad you recorded it and put it
Fantastic. Wonderful. Let's keep it going.
there.
Okay.
Indeed, indeed.
All
Thank
right.
you.
You betcha. All right. So I'm going to remove my spotlight. And who's next? Who's next? First, we got the bomb, and that was good. I'm sorry. Um, Suzanne Paul, you've been smiling and looking so cute. And I would like very much to find out what is going on in Suzanne's life. How can we help you?
There we go. Let me unmute myself.
Okay.
There we go. Since last week, I have worked on finishing a project that I started. I have hit kind of a familiar speed bump, so I'm pretty sure I'll get through that. And my goal is to finish that story this month,
Okay.
because I've got a full-time job that I have to report to. So
Understood.
my plan is, on days that I work from home is when I get my pages in, because I'm not commuting and I'm not doing any of that other stuff. I can quit working in my office and then go to my other location in the apartment and get my writing done. On days that I have to go to the office, which is 5 days out of 10, I make notes about what I'm going to do when I do my writing sessions.
May I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Write one sentence every day. Even on days you have to go in, just one sentence. Keep
Hmm.
that part of you alive. It's like just feeding just a little bit into the fire, but one sentence, you'll giggle over it. It's like, what one sentence am I going to write today before I dash out the door? And having the fun with that, keeping that thread going, can be a really wonderful gift to yourself. Would you try that and let us know how that works for you? Just one sentence.
Sure. Yeah, I've got a little
Great.
speed bump going because I try not to get down in the rabbit hole of research. I'm kind of a research junkie. So I've been going through I've been trying a new process for me anyway, where I've not been trying to research until I know for sure I need a particular fact. Trying to wait until wait until I know for sure I need it, and then going and getting
Look,
that,
as far
because
as I'm concerned, what you should be doing is learning all the time, but also looking for specific research you need to do sometime. So
Mhm.
you're constantly gathering an understanding of the world. You're trying to build your model. What is the world? How does this all work? However you want to do that. But then when you're working on a specific piece, you say, well, I need to know what happened. What was a 1948,
Mhm.
vehicle, like what kind of soap did people use in 1932? Tananarive uses, well, actually let her say that. What do you do for that?
Sears catalogs. So let me add myself here. Hold on one second. There I am. Here's a
There you
story.
are.
So yeah, Sears Sears catalogs are great. I don't know what year your work takes place. What is it?
It's pre-Civil War.
Okay, I mean, pre-Civil War, you're not going to get Sears necessarily, but you'd be surprised at how far back some of those catalogs go.
Mm-hmm.
And some
Mm-hmm.
of
Yeah,
that won't have
there were definitely
paint.
mail order. There was definitely mail order, and people, pioneers and stuff. Although the Western expansion really accelerated after the Civil War, plenty of people were buying products
Mm-hmm.
from early catalogs. I don't know, like you're talking like 1850.
Oh, Farmer's Almanac, someone is saying, and
Yeah,
also
Yeah.
reading.
1860,
Yeah, you want to
1862,
get facsimiles
1860.
of Farmer's Almanac, of
Mm-hmm,
newspapers at the time, and
That's
you
mm-hmm,
know,
true. Newspapers
and
are very
mail
helpful.
order
And also
catalogs. Absolutely.
biographies and autobiographies, obviously, of people who lived in that era, even if they're unrelated to, like, I'm writing a novel now that's set in old Hollywood, or begins in old Hollywood of the 20s. So any Black performers I'm reading about who came of age during that era, whether
mm-hmm.
it's Hattie McDaniel, I'm going to go on to Lena Horne next. I can't wait to read her biography. I'm listening to Dorothy Dandridge, are going to help me create a composite of an experience that isn't any one of their experiences, but it just, Steve could tell you, I'm just falling down the rabbit hole as I do research in this one.
And
Yeah,
it's
I
fun.
love research.
So
But you don't want to get lost there. So you're smart to
Exactly.
write until you run out of the research. And then you can
or
always
you
go back
set
to
yourself a very specific pattern in order to get where you want. Let's say you were following what it is that we say. You figure it will take you 50 stories, 25 stories, 100 stories to get where you want to go. How long will it take to get there? How badly do you want it? If you write at least one story a month, you get there in less than 10 years. If you do 2 stories a month, you get there in 5 years. If you do 4 stories a month, now you're cooking with gas. Now you're really taking off. Um, if you do if you do a story every week, then in 2 years, that's 100 stories. And that'll
Mm-hmm.
get you, that'll take you all the way there. Anybody who is that kind of focus, who's willing to accept feedback, no problem. So if let's say you'd write a story a month because you've got a job, and that's enough. It is enough. Do all the research you want. Spend all the time working on a story that you want, as long as you're finishing at least one story a month. So if you're working on one story and it's like you're going deep down the rabbit hole and the 28th of the month is there, you got to write yourself a one-page short story real fast to stay on track. But if you do that, you've kept your word. That's perfect. You're both engaging the part of you that has fun going all the way down the rabbit hole, and you have engaged the adult part of your personality that says, do your homework. It's not all play. Come on, I need you to give me a one-page short story over here. Oh, okay, Mom. But after I do that, can I get right back to researching? Yes, you can. But give me a one-page short story. If that's what you've discovered about yourself, then you would be well served to read a ton of one-page short stories. Read flash fiction and focus on that. It's this stuff, as we refine this process, one of the things that we're refining is the ability to make the process flexible so that you can be who it is that you are and be true to yourself and be in alignment with your core, okay? Which is another possible C for the magic formula. We're talking about congruence and courage, but it could be the C in the sense of who are you? And every story needs to be touching that core of who you are. That knowledge that life is you want to work hard and play hard and serve. So does that help at all, sweetheart?
It does. It does. My short stories usually come in at around between 4,000 and 5,000 words. And right now I'm right at 2,000. So I'm
Okay.
thinking I can finish that if I don't fall down my research rabbit hole comfortably this month.
Okay, good. So it's all about keep determining where you want to be, coming up with a pattern. If I do this every day or every week or every 10 days, that I will be able to achieve what I'm looking for. And you work really hard to create that structure. And then what you do is you keep your word to yourself. If you can't keep your word to yourself, then you change the structure, change the goal thing. But that's the thing. You're constantly saying, what can I actually achieve? And then you get to live every day feeling like today was a success. You want to set it up so that every night you go to bed feeling like you had a good day. Because if you have enough good days, you have a good life. Does that make sense?
That's awesome.
All right.
That's awesome.
Take care of
Thank
yourself,
you.
sweetheart. Keep checking in and let us know how we can help you and let yourself be supported. Okay?
Wonderful. Thank you.
You bet. This is so much fun today. Rachel Heslin. I get to talk to Rachel. Hello, Rachel.
Hello there.
Hi.
This is for some reason I have to keep the voice down because it's late here. Um
Where are
I'm
you?
I I'm in Paris.
Ooh,
Uh for some
fantastic.
reason I keep feeling called to participate in these when I'm out having adventures, because and I think some of it is I the adventures are so activating, and I need to get grounded in that activation so that I can
Mm.
hold on to it. Uh, I had a really big upleveling this week. I have a lot of environmental sensitivities. When I was um, when I was in high school, I actually had to switch high schools halfway through because in my first school, by the time I got to the end of the day, I was literally passing out, just losing consciousness. And that was just not helpful. At the time, I thought I was fragile. What I'm talking about is that the stories in my head about what I was actually capable of. Over the years, I learned that it wasn't that I was fragile, but that my system was overloaded. So I started looking at, okay, what can I do to support my system and not put so much stuff into
Are
it?
you talking about are you
Diet,
talking about
breathing.
environmental chemicals? Are you talking about
Yeah, I'm
emotions?
talking about mold, chemicals,
Got it.
stuff I eat.
Hmm.
I that sort the I call them allergies, but they're not really allergies. But it's
But you
yeah,
had a major, you said you had a
sensitivities.
major win. Something happened
Yes.
in the last
Well,
week.
yes. Um, the progression was I thought I was fragile. I thought I was overloaded. And I had intellectually kind of understood that I could do more. But what the mind shift was is that I'm here in Paris. It's really old. There's a lot of moldy stuff. I'm enrolled at a French immersion program at the American University of Paris. And if I don't get my act together, I'm not going to be able to do this. So something kicked in, and I hadn't even realized I was doing it. I switched from, okay, but what can I get away with? Can I have this chocolate just because it tastes good? And okay, I'll take the hit. It's not that big of a deal. I'm really adaptable. So I was very good at saying, oh, well, I'll deal with it. And the switch is I went from what can I get away with to, okay, but what else can I do? Can I get better? And I've somehow managed to tap into my body's own natural processes for detoxing and rejuvenating and helping itself in a way that I haven't been able to do before. Um,
How did you do
one
it?
of the things, um,
If you had to try to put your finger on what changed so that you could make this transformation, what did you do? How did you get it right?
keeping promises to myself. It was one of those things that
Beautiful.
intellectually I knew that if I didn't, that it's like, oh, I know if I did this, it would be better, but eh, I'm not going to worry about it. It's late. I'll just like scroll through my phone until I fall asleep instead of doing my closing out the day. But when I actually made the effort to say, no, I'm going to do the things that I committed to myself I would do, it raised my energy because all of a sudden I trusted myself, and I never trusted myself before.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. What I will tell you in no uncertain terms is that you have your finger on something very important. You just touched a third rail in your life, darling.
I
This is
did. It's
important. Yes, yes.
amazing.
You need journal about this. Write this down. You learned to trust yourself in a new way. Put it in something Put it in something permanent, because
That's what, as I was listening to what you were talking about in the routines, I mean, I've been following you for years. I have my routines and whatnot, but what I added is, uh, what can I incorporate into my daily routines to support the tightening of my integration of this new understanding?
if you have just found, let us say that it is possible that you have found a major key, that
Yeah.
in terms of your heart, your body, and your career, that if you'd been able to trust yourself more, you could have avoided more suffering and had more joy. It is possible that the single thing is the definite chief aim that could transform your life. That
I can feel
therefore,
it.
yes. So if your goal is every week you're going to increase your trust of yourself by at least 1% and have fun in the process, make sure that you're having fun in the process. You've done something magnificent. This is magnificent. Uh, Trusting yourself means telling yourself the truth. You've become a more honest human being, a more loving human being, a more embracing human being, and you're going to have a fabulous experience over there in France. I mean, it's like, because
Oh, it's amazing.
look, I mean, the part of you that can learn languages quickly is the kid part of you. And now the
Yeah.
kid part of you and the parent part of you are in better alignment. You trust each other more. This is
Yeah,
wonderful, Rachel.
it's amazing at when I'm able to actually be present and embodied. The language isn't a problem. I mean, it just comes up and yeah, I have questions, but I take stuff in and the communication and it's been huge. And I think that that's another reason why I'm called to participate in these calls because there's something about sharing and witnessing that makes them feel real.
It is real. It is real. It's absolutely real. When you give testimony, as you just did, not only are you looking to have someone look at you and say, "Am I crazy?" No, you're not crazy. You're brilliant. You're brilliant. But you are also supporting the community which supported you. You're giving to us, and allowing us to give to you, and that in allowing us to give to you, you're giving to us. That's the feedback loop that I get from giving. And I am creating a tribe of people who've been looking for people who get by giving. It's like, all I wanted in terms of love was to have someone that I could put Tananarive above me. I could just care about her happiness, and I knew I would never hurt myself if I did that because she is that kind of woman. We're looking for this, Rachel. Right now, you're in your bliss. You're shining, and we can see it. We can all see it. You're radiating for us. People, I want you to notice what you are seeing in her right now. This is an authentic human being who's having an authentic experience. She is actually engaging with life in a beautiful way. I don't know if the lights are on in your room. I suspect that if they weren't, you'd be glowing anyway. So
Yeah, it's still light outside, which is a little bit weird. So
thank you so much for sharing with us. This was important. Thank you.
thank you. Thank you,
Is there
everyone. I've been seeing there's like so many cool comments and supports and stuff in the chat too, which just makes my heart just feel happy.
wonderful? What a gift to share your joy with us. And I hope have the experience of a lifetime. And, check in with us when you can. You are absolutely welcome anytime. But when you come back from this, make sure to check in with us. Let us know how things went. And if there's anything we can do to support you, you let us know.
Thank
Okay. God, that was great. Wow.
you.
Well, all I can say is like, well, damn. That's wonderful. So we've got 10 minutes. Is there anybody else who wants to connect? Actually, I see some Elizabeth. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi,
How you doing?
so I am doing okay. I am, so I saw your email. I know what's it? A lot of times I feel, remember Grease, the movie, and the beauty school dropout? Yeah, I've been her for too long. I've had a lot of life changes all at once, and that really threw me for a spin.
Okay.
So my within a very short time frame. See, 2019, my dad died. 2020, my spouse died. Of course, we had COVID. Soon after, and at the time, my kids were 13 and 16. So since then, I've had my oldest leave for college. I got laid off last year, found a new job. And now my mom, the wife of my dad who passed away, well, she's not herself anymore. She's at that toddler, that late in life toddler stage.
Yes.
So I'm part of that sandwich generation. But I had so many events happen at the same time that I've had trouble, I guess, getting my shit together after all that.
Okay, so the universal goal is to escape suffering, embrace joy. Okay? So that's your first step. If you lack clarity right now, then that means that your goal is clarity. When is your birthday?
Oh, I'm January. I'm an Aquarius.
So you can say by next January, you will have clarity on your path forward in life that will, escape suffering and embrace joy. You don't have to have the answer today. But you kind of say, if you know that you want to have it by January, then every day you're asking yourself the question, who am I? What do I really want? Well, I want to be happy. I want to escape suffering and be happy. So what would make me happy? So you ask questions like that. You don't have to have the answers. You have to admit that you have the questions. And by asking yourself those questions often enough, then you are heading in the right direction. Now, how can we be of service to you today?
So I was able to find a job. So I took all year last year, but I found a job. It's giving me more work-life balance. What I'm working on, and I think it's probably the reason I felt called to attend your session, is on creating that ritual, finding that 1 hour that I can dedicate to me or my writing, so that I
You're
feel like
writing? You want to be a writer?
I've been yes, I've been doing that for a while.
Okay,
and
well,
I
fantastic.
feel like
So
I kind of feel like I've been pretending to be that for a while.
okay, so here's the whole thing. Start with the breathing. 5 times a day, do 60 seconds of deep, slow, and diaphragmatic breathing. Just like, at the beginning of every hour, 5 times a day. You can do it once every 2 to 3 hours. That's the beginning of your ritual. That gets you in the door. After that, the first thing that you want to do that is connected with your goal is to write at least 1 sentence a day. Just one. You don't need an hour. You start by just creating the opening where you are breathing. So you're finding space for yourself 60 seconds at a time. And it doesn't take more than 60 seconds to write 1 sentence. If you will start with that, we can leverage you to the rest of it. But remember, your goal is to escape suffering, be joyful. So write a sentence that makes you laugh. Write a sentence that brings you joy, that is naughty or funny or something like this, so that you're bringing joy into your life. You deserve joy. If you will do that, like I said, you've got the fulcrum and the lever, and we can start getting you to, doing a short story a month, or a chapter a month, or whatever it is
Yes.
necessary to
So I've
move you
started,
along that path.
yeah. So I'm doing a a workshop, an online workshop. We're supposed to do 3 prompts a week, and so far I'm okay. At least I did 2 this week. It wasn't 3, but I have time today to do the third. So I'm trying to
Okay.
be more committed to that, because what tends to happen is something out of my control will pop up, and then I get, it's just all the sicker with it.
See, this is why you have
Equilibrium,
to,
yeah.
your basics have to be within your control. You can control whether you take 5 minutes a day to breathe at 60 seconds at a time, and you can control whether you write one sentence. If you set those goals and you find out you're not doing it, then you get the joke. The joke is it wasn't anything outside. It was internal resistance. Remove the internal resistance, and now you'll start creating the time. So it start with something that is so small that there's no logical reason not to do it, and you know, I'm dealing with guilt, pain, shame, fear. Something is stopping me that's within me. And that's the good news, because if what's stopping you is within you, that's the thing you can control. You can't control the outside world, but you can control the inside world. So we can help you with that. If you will commit to that breathing and one sentence a day, I promise you that the rest can come. If you'll make that promise to me, then it stops becoming a matter of anything. It's not talent, it's not time, it's not energy. It's just, do you keep your word to yourself or don't you? So let me ask you that directly. Do you keep your word to yourself?
I have not been as consistent about it as I should.
Yes. So that's where you need to go. That are you better at keeping your word to other people than to yourself?
Oh, yeah, completely.
Okay.
I'm
So
constantly
now,
in mama bear mode.
yeah.
Constant.
So that shows you that you will be able to gain a huge amount simply by loving yourself more. Simply by seeing the adorable little girl inside you who started this life journey that has done so much for so many, and saying, you know something, this is your time. This is your time. If not now, when? I mean, seriously. You do not want to get to the end of your life and feel like you never lived it for yourself. So if you will do those 2 things and come back here and remind us of what's going on, we will continue to support you, and the people in chat will support you. And you found a place where people will not ask anything from you. Yes, we sell courses, lifewritingpremium.com. We love our courses. But this is not about getting money from you. This is about you having your dreams. And if you're willing to share your honest heart with us, and then to support the other people here with your energy and your caring, we will support you. Fair enough?
Sounds good.
All right.
Sounds like a
Thank
goal,
you.
sounds like a plan. Yes.
I'll see you next time. And let me see. Neat's iPhone. Did Neat have?
Hi.
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 So,
So I'm on my iPhone and I don't know how to use it. So after this, I probably won't know how to put my hand down because I didn't know
it's
how to
okay.
put
We're
it up.
almost out of
But
time. So tell me, what can we do for you, sweetheart?
I just wanted to get on and share. And usually I don't speak because I enjoy listening to everyone else. But there's something in the air always, but it's just really hitting me hard. I've been having this reoccurring dream that I'm in a car and I'm driving and my eyes are weighted so I can't see. And I think I'm sleeping, but I just can't wake up.
Mm,
And I've been having this dream for years. So when I was in spin class today, it hit me the meaning of the dream. I'm not supposed to open my eyes. That is, well, let me back up. So when I'm able to open my eyes, everything is fine. It's some weird thing where I'm parking. I'm like, because I'm from New York. I'm like, am I close enough from the curb? It's just that whole New York thing. Or, okay, you were driving down this road, your eyes were closed, but everything's fine. There's a truck coming your way, but it's still fine because you're on the right side of the road. So anyway, it just hit me the definition. It's just that if that is not God taking the wheel and trusting what you are doing is correct, then I don't know what else is. It's just it hit me. I'm not supposed to have my my eyes on, my eyes open. I've been called to write, and I've just now, well, not now, maybe a little less than a year now, been writing and listening to the voice. And, I have my doubts, like I'm not smart enough. I'm not, I'm not a true writer. I have the greatest respect.
Okay, Need is freezing. And what I want to do is to address what I believe is the issue here. And she'll be able to hear it when, she does the replay. Maybe she can listen right now. The magic happens where you're not watching. The watch pot never boils, etc. But you still have to act, and you have to act with purpose. The magic formula is about keeping your eyes on what's in front of you and accepting the fact that the rewards you really want will come from the sides. It's so critical. So that idea of do the work that's in front of you. Live each day with integrity. Live each hour with integrity. In this moment, be here now, because this moment is the only one. So when you're in spin class, you exercise, and maybe your mind will wander, and that can be okay too. But if you have the ability to focus on what's right in front of you, and you choose the right things to focus on, and what I'm suggesting you focus on is, what is the perfect day that if you had 1,000 of these days, you'd get to where you want to be? Then you put everything you've got into just having a perfect day, one day at a time. Wake up in the morning, feel gratitude, focus on what you need to do. Remember the mentors that would be able to kick butt. I mean, I can think of Octavia Butler or William Shakespeare or Larry Niven, and trust me, I got no writing problems that those three can't handle. There's nothing. There's nothing they can't handle. Octavia would look at me with scorn. Are you kidding, Steve? That's a problem. That's not a problem. Just do this, 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 and this. It's up to us to live the individual days of our lives with meaning, joy, and purpose, to remember that the meaning of life is to escape suffering, embrace joy, and give service to the world. This has been part of my service today, but the other is to go and see my dear, beloved mentor, Larry Niven, who lost his wife. And he's having a gathering of people who loved her and loved them. And I just want to go to him and to make sure that he knows that I will never forget her and I will never forget him. And that the quality of my life has been the quality of my relationships. And he is my spiritual father. What I want you guys to do now is please unmute yourselves and say goodbye until next week.
Namaste.
See everybody next week.
Thank you
Give
all.
Larry,
Thank
give
you.
Larry my love.
See you all later.
Thanks so much.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Take
Larry
care.
was so sorry
And
too.
make sure to when we send out these links, share them with your friends. All are welcome here. But until we see each other again, the divinity within me salutes and acknowledges the divinity within each and every one of you. Namaste. Take
Namaste.
care. Bye bye.
Namaste.
Bye, people.